Hi there, and welcome back to the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast. I'm Ryan Bird, joined as always by the founder of the Junior Golf Hub, Roger Nick. Roger, certainly this time of year, it really is absolutely golf season. Officially, Tiger Woods has said he will play the Masters, so I think that has given the golf world a bit of a kickstart that we know we get Tiger at the Masters, and I've been on record. This is as healthy he has been since he's won. The reps are a bit of a problem. Obviously, still doesn't have the reps that you would think to be able to really contend. But just seeing today that he is officially in the field, that will send shockwaves certainly through the golf world.
No doubt about it, Ryan. I'm actually remotely myself down in Hobe Sound. I've heard rumors from some guys who's actually seen Tiger out hitting some balls and practicing, getting some reps in. Apparently, it looks pretty solid, looking pretty good. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be an interesting Masters.
Yeah, I mean, I've had many conversations with Tiger since the ankle fusion, and point blank, he has zero pain now. So listen, I've made some wagers with friends for some dinners. I think we see him top 10 again this year, if not win. I'm just not betting against that guy. So will be interesting. With that said, we want to welcome in our guest this week. It is Coach Leonard Smoot from Miles. Coach, it is wonderful to have you on the Hub at Junior Golf Podcast. A little bit about us, the fastest growing junior golf podcast in America. Certainly each week we have on whether it's a head coach from the women's game in college or the men's game. Give us an idea a little bit about what you guys do and how you go about picking your team each and every year. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Ryan, it's a pleasure to be here. Roger, thank you guys for all that you do and continue to do with junior golf. So I'm excited to be here and represent Miles College as the Miles College head golf coach.
And certainly, Roger, if you go to Miles, looks like you get a trip to Paris right out of the gate.
Absolutely. You know what? Hey, Michael, need to suit up, bud. Let's go.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about your day in, day out job, what it is like at Miles. What are some of your responsibilities that might be different from other coaches, and some things that are pretty much the same as you gear up to try to win another conference title?
Well, I guess probably something that's probably just significantly different from myself and many other coaches is that I'm a retired Marine of 24 years. I think that would probably be one of the biggest significant differences in terms of maybe my philosophy, my thought process as when it comes to college golf itself. My first priority is not necessarily the golf. When it comes to recruiting talented young men to come play for me, first I want them to be academically sound. There are some that I bring in just to help them, become better young men that may have been at other schools. I like working with projects in terms of, helping young men believe in themselves, even when they struggle in other areas, maybe academics, or just they struggled at another college. I think young men deserve a second chance, simply because we've all been young and we've all made our own mistakes throughout our young lives. So that's probably one thing that may be significantly different for me as it pertains to college golf. In terms of other things, what I look for as a coach probably is not much different. Obviously you're always looking for talent to kind of help you achieve the goals athletically. So from that aspect, I think there's a lot of similarities with coaches. But the biggest thing for me is I don't focus on conference championships. I explain to the guys, don't get it confused. We are here to win, but winning a piece of crystal glass versus you getting your education and me preparing you for life, that's more of the championship that I'm looking to pursue.
Coach, you mentioned a former retired Marine. That is not our everyday run-of-the-mill coach. Before we go any further, I need to hear how you transitioned from the military to become a head college golf coach. I need to start there.
Well, Ryan, first, I never knew I was going to be a college golf coach. I mean, I'm one of three African Americans to ever make the Marine Corps golf team. So golf was already in my blood. I kind of took golf, and kind of my uncle, when as a kid, tried to get me involved. I didn't really kind of gravitate to golf at that point. It wasn't until I was in the military late in my life that I saw my bosses playing. So I basically picked up a Golf Digest. That Golf Digest that year that I started teaching myself how to play was Nick Faldo had a Golf Digest magazine in that monthly subscription. I took that, and he talked about the arc of the golf swing. So I kind of took that book, that Golf Digest, and started sitting it on the ground and teaching myself. And like, he talked about the art, and I'm like, okay, the art. And so I just tried to duplicate what he was doing on the front of that magazine, and then I started buying. So I contribute Nick Faldo to my success when it comes to becoming a player and being a self-taught player, just based on what he said in that particular subscription that month. And I actually have a copy of it still, that someone found for me. So hopefully one day maybe I can get his autograph and get him to sign it, and I can frame it and put it up in my man cave. So that's how I kind of got into it.
Oh, that's a great story. And by the way, we can help get that autograph for you. So happened to practice with Faldo quite a bit over the years ago. So I'm with you. That was one of my guiding principles as a self-taught player as well, Coach Smoot. So I get it. Pretty smooth swing to emulate.
Oh yeah.
Coach, I'm going to jump into a really tough topic. Okay. You're at HBCU, Division II coach. You just talked about you were one of three African Americans who made the Marine Corps team, right? And you wanted to play golf, and you saw your bosses playing golf. I think one of the toughest things we see in the golf landscape today is that we talk about opportunities. The MB3, Nota Begay and Ryan, and their series that they're doing, their national championship, has set a precedent of getting opportunities more so than probably any other tour out there today, right? So that's been spectacular. However, if you think about what's going on in our industry, we talk a lot about caddy scholarship. We talk a lot about pushing these young men from maybe not so great opportunities or areas, if you will, underserved communities, that kind of thing, into caddy programs. We don't hear a lot talking about playing golf, right? One of the things that I know that is near and dear to our hearts is, how do we get kids playing the game from underserved communities? Not just, hey, let's keep them as caddies, right? Because I think that's one of the tough things in the landscape today. What's your take on that, and how do you feel that that's going to change?
Well, I think part of that is already changing. I think the caddy program is a great caddy. If you think back, when I know Ryan was talking, you all were talking about the Masters. Back during the Masters, you had I think the Masters had nothing but black caddies at the Masters, right? So the caddy program I think is an awesome program that allows young people to talk and spend time with professionals, CEOs, business owners, things like that. So the caddy program, I think, is a great opportunity for young people. I think the Evans Scholarship and things like that are huge, and so it does create other opportunities for those kids that may not want to be a professional golfer. But I also think with you talked about Nota Begay, we got Harold Warner with the APGA doing some things. You have Stephen Curry with Underrated Tour. You have Jeff Champ and Cameron Champ with the MAC Invitational. I think all those things are pushing our talented kids that we've had out there since Tiger Woods. I mean, Tiger Woods was the driving force behind that, obviously, right? With kids getting involved, regardless of color, was a big, big push for um and improving the sport. But now that you have these different tours, you have people of color that are now being seen. You have the Southwest Junior Collegiate event that was televised on the Golf Channel, and then recently with the PGA Works being televised on the Golf Channel, that showcased HBCU golf. So I think for me as a black man, as a coach at a HBCU, we've had our kids out there. The problem is that we have not been able to identify where those kids are unless it's by word of mouth, um, or you may see one or two of us out there at the at a AJGA event, or playing in your local state events. But that wasn't many. So I think we are making strides towards that. I hope that we continue to make strides towards that, to include, that which continues to include underserved communities, because there's, a lot of kids out there that have a lot of talent that just need to be seen. I guess that's probably what I would say.
Let's piggyback on that with the game is a very expensive game.
Mhm.
There is no way around that. Obviously, you think about what some of the most inexpensive games are to be able to practice on your own. Basketball, you need a ball, or you need to know someone that has a ball, and there are places all over America where you can just go and play for free, especially summer outdoor. Baseball, you need a tennis ball, you need a bat, you need whatever, and same kind of thing. You can walk on a field and you can practice.
Mhm.
Golf is tries, but certainly you almost feel like the very first thing you need are clubs.
Right.
The second thing you need is a ride to a golf course or driving range. And
Right.
then the third thing is, once you get there, you got to have money to get the balls to be able to practice.
Mhm.
So just inherently, the game is expensive for everyone.
Right.
How much is that the biggest barrier in your mind that is the reason that golf is not more prevalent?
I think that's one of the reasons. I think another reason could potentially be the fact that our kids don't see us. I think that could be a factor. Here in the city of Birmingham, our golf team have taught probably about 400 kids in the last, say, 90 days or so. We've done 2 elementary schools, we've done a middle school, and every time with some of this snag gear from First Tee, we've taken that gear and put those clubs in those kids' hands. I've asked that question, hey, how many of you all like golf? And you'd be surprised in how many kids at that young age, elementary and middle school, have said I would say 80% of them, 85% of the kids raise their hand and say they like golf. I think probably one of the major factors is Top Golf has helped that.
Mhm.
And I think, when it comes to equipment, I think, like you're saying, equipment has gotten expensive for all of us. I mean, the price point is just through the roof, and it is, But I kind of push a lot of young people to kind of buy secondhand gear. You can buy very nice equipment at a reasonable price. It doesn't have to be the 2024 version of, a golf club, right? It can be just like buying a car. It can be you can buy a 2018. So you might buy a driver that might be $100, $150, $169 that might be 3 years old. You don't have to buy the $700 club today.
Right.
So it's just finding ways to put clubs in their hands. I think grant opportunities, finding grants and getting some corporations involved to be able to put clubs in kids' hands would help. I know Youth on Course does an amazing job, and then what they're doing opportunity for young people to have access to golf courses. So I think some of the things in some of the spaces that people, obviously Junior Golf Hub, Youth on Course, and various other groups are out there finding ways for our kids to be able to touch, feel, and be on the golf course.
Yeah, no, you made some good points there, Coach Smoot. Moving to the recruiting the kids, obviously, and getting them to come to your program at Miles College. What would a parent, what would our audience want to know about your program, and what's a day in a life there at Miles College for your athletes?
Well, first thing that I like parents to know about Miles College Golf Program is that I'm gonna be honest, truthful, and that the fact that if your kids coming to play for me, I'm part of your village, as I say. I'm a part of making sure that they meet, that I'm not tearing all the work that they put into their young person, that I'm not tearing it down, that I'm continuing to support it and continue to help build and grow men. Once they leave home, it's like like I tell them, you leave the flock, you leaving your parents' nest. Now you got to become men. So, that's the one thing, is being honest with the parents. But the one thing I tell them is, one, having to understand, what does it take. One, you got to be able to qualify to play at the next level, right? You got to have decent scores. Shooting 100 may get your young person into a college, but it's not going to get them into a competitive college. Be realistic, when it comes to that. Be academically sound. There's many kids that I see that continually do the same thing. So you get to middle school, you make the mistakes. Then you get to high school, you still making the same mistakes. Well, I tell them, so when you come to Miles College, everybody's a 4.0 student. Everybody's a 4.0 student. You have to realize you're making the same mistakes at every level. So now this is your final test when you get to college, before you go into the wolf pack, I guess I would say. Because that's the real world. People aren't going to care. I'm going to teach you, train you, teach you. I say, you're going to be a Marine without being a Marine. So I'm like, it's going to be structured. It's going to be disciplined. I'm going to check you when you need to be checked. I'm going to love you when you need to be loved. I'm going to make sure that your parents' foundation is steadfast, is solid. So failure is not an option when you come to play for me. It's just not an option. And I'm not going to pass you off to another college just because you're not being successful where you are. We're going to work through that process. I'm willing to do that. As a coach, I'm willing to do that. I'm not going to push you out, kick you out. If I recruited you for a reason. If you leave on your own. You fire yourself. I will never, ever fire you. So I've never, even with some of my guys that ask me, Coach, why are you keeping him? I'm like, well, you will never understand that until maybe you get to my age. Because if I could pass him on to somebody else, then that somebody else doesn't care about him. And then now we send somebody back out in the world that is not prepared, right? So I'm a big believer in not pushing kids off to somebody else. If they want to leave, that's true. That's obviously on them. But if they got issues and problems, I'm going to work through that. We're going to work through those problems together to get you where you need to be.
Yeah, Coach, on that note, one of the things that I think we need to discuss a little bit is, I think there's a big misnomer that HBCU schools are only for, minority kids or Black kids of color, right? Versus, it's for everyone, right? And why not have an opportunity? And I know, based on the fact that there is trouble finding talented young men out there to kind of be recruited into HBCU schools. Because right now there's 107, HBCU schools. There's only 33 that have golf programs, and several of those actually just went away recently. Some prominent programs got rid of golf. There's opportunities out there, right? I mean, can you talk a little bit about what that looks like for a family that maybe thinking of Miles College or another HBCU?
Yeah, and so from an HBCU's perspective, my platform at Miles is intentional. Um, I'm going to recruit black, white, Hispanic. I may have a few international players on my team. I've just gotten to the point where I'm able to do that. But my makeup of my team is going to look like the rest of the world. So his, our HBCUs are historically black colleges. I mean, historically, we had no other place to go, right? So, but that doesn't mean that, someone like yourself, Roger, could not attend a Miles College. You're coming to get an education. We have the same professors that teachers at Alabama or graduated from Alabama or graduated from Harvard or DePaul. So you're coming to get educated. So I like, a lot of times I tell parents, don't look at Miles College from a perspective of just being a black college. You're coming into an environment that's predominantly black. However, maybe there's something you can learn at that HBCU that you can take back out into the world, right? And educate people that don't have an understanding. So if we look at it from that perspective and just look at Miles College or any HBCU as a college and not look at it as a historically black college, the history behind it is history behind it. So understand the history behind why that need was there for people of color that wanted to be educated, and we've had some amazing leaders that graduated. And currently, obviously, our vice president um, current graduated from Howard University.
Mm-hmm.
So we have great colleges, HBCU colleges that anybody and everybody can come to get educated. And if you look at it from that perspective, it's going to be a positive. You're going to get a positive experience to take back out into the world that really prepares you as an individual how to adapt and work within an environment that you may not have been not accustomed. I look at Coach Rice, who's a graduate, who's the current coach at FAMU, who coaches. He's a graduate of um, HBCU, who's coaching it is still coaching at his alma mater. You look at Sean Foley. Let's look at Sean Foley. Sean Foley is very proud of being graduating from Tennessee State, right? I mean, so
Absolutely.
if we look at that, right? If we look at all of that as a whole, and not look at our HBCUs as just being black, let's look at it as we're an institution of higher learning. We're right. And then if you want to go on to follow on schools to get a master's, your PhD, you can go to Harvard. We've had a young lady that was from Africa that at the age of 16 came from Africa, graduated from Miles College, went to Howard University, graduated, finished her there. She now, I think, doing a residency, I think at Harvard. I mean, so education is education. And if we look at it from that perspective, I think parents that don't look like me will have a better appreciation. And not only just for our men, but also for our women programs as well.
Great answer, Coach, and a great perspective. Let's get on the course a little bit and give our listeners and viewers a little idea. I mean, clearly, as you've stated, golf is a vehicle here, but the end game is to create and put great men out into the world. With that said, they obviously have a dream and have a skill, or they wouldn't be at Miles College. So, how do you, when you get them, try to make them better?
Well, first and foremost, I do have I ain't gonna say I have the luxury of, because I do have to pay for it. But we have the number one, I would say, golf academy from Mark Blackburn is here at Greystone here in Birmingham. One of my good friends, Brian Speakman, is his lead one of his lead instructors there. So a lot of times I'll take my guys to Brian Speakman to kind of tweak. I'm big on course management, I'm big on structure. I'm big on trying to get them to understand how to kind of dissect the golf course. So when I put a lot of my guys, and some of them already have their own instructors, but if they don't, then I kind of put them with Brian Speakman over at Mark's place and work through some and try to get them to improve. But on the golf course, I work a lot on course management. I work a lot on playing. We play a lot, so we'll play a lot. Then we'll come back. We'll spend our time with. We've spent our time with a lot of short game work. Matter of fact, it helped me out, Roger. But I had Roger's team came out with PDI, came to Miles College. We looked at what their physical strengths were and weaknesses, how we can improve on that. I've gone to an analytical piece where I'm using clip and so I can look and see real numbers versus me just guessing. So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of conditioning. We work out twice a week. We run, and then I send them through what I call a Marine Corps Daily 7, which is not fun. So it's called as our accountability drills. And I tell them it's not meant to be fun. I'm trying to make you mentally tough. So if you're not mentally tough and working through, we now even practice in some of the conditions that we're going to play in. I mean, the tournament we just got back, gusting winds up to 30-mile-an-hour winds. A lot of young people don't even believe that a 140-yard shot with a 30-mile-an-hour wind might be 170 yards to that pin. Mm-hmm. And to get them to believe that is tough. So we played in cold conditions yesterday morning. It started off at 28. It got up I think it got up to about 30, just past freezing, and then we were out. And so we play in different elements. I put them in different situations. I move them up on tee boxes where I need you to shoot the lowest score you can possibly. We'll go all the way up to the teal tees. I'm like, if you're shooting in the 70s from the teal, what that tell you what you're going to shoot from the purple, right? So I test them in all different kind of ways. We do a lot of conditioning. Particularly this year, we've done a lot of conditioning, and the result of doing that has really elevated us. We've won a tournament, the Arcus HBCU championship, which I think, but good things we've done this year has helped. We should have finished fourth, but we finished fifth just out of Shorter's University's event where the top 3 teams that beat us were in the top 100. So we did. That's a win for me. That's a win for us. So just continually, and then going back to academics, I say if you can't get it done in the classroom, time management there, how do you expect it to have course management when you're on the course? Because you didn't prepare. And the key, and our theme this year is preparation, 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 preparation. And preparation doesn't start at the golf course. Preparation starts back home. We study our, strike line books. We kind of go through all those kind of things to make sure that when we get there, that we have at least have some kind of strategy in place before we even get to the first tee.
Yeah, Coach. And by the way, I appreciate the guys going through the PDI. We saw a lot of good stuff there. Danny was sharing that information. I was taking a look at it. You had a lot of good, kids there that got a lot of good talent, a lot of good skills. To your point, I think it's that opportunity to play more, right? That putting those skills into play and putting them under stress. I know, Ryan likes to use his laser and shoot 145, and he pulls out his, sand wedge, and it's kind of funny. He's got to learn how to use the skills he has. No
doubt. Coach, what about this game of golf? Obviously, it is massively changing on, the big thing we hear now from coaches that are winning national championships is really the main thing they're looking for before everything else is potential with speed. How far, it's just such an advantage. And we've seen guys and how this game has changed where, just hit it and swing as hard as you can, try to create as much speed as you can. We'll straighten it out, but to be able to hit a sand wedge instead of a 5-iron, over time you're going to have a dramatic difference. Where do you fall in on that? Are you a believer that speed is one of the most important elements of a golf swing?
I think it is, 'cause I got one of my players on this team, and that's all he talks about is speed. So I mean, and he's long off the tee box. So the average guy that's not hitting the ball 310, 340 today, and you hitting it through at 260, you at a disadvantage with any player out there. So I think speed is critically important, uh, particularly if you're playing top level golf. Um, and you're playing at a high level of golf, and you got an expectation to try to play professional golf. Speed is going to have to be one of the major factors, because when I go back and think about like Luke Donald, who was a short game artist, when I look at when I look at Brian Harmon, I mean, the guy is long. You would underestimate Brian Harmon's talent, if you just looked at him at his height. But I mean, the guy hits the ball a long ways, right? Yes. I mean, so don't underestimate the length. Distance is long, and I think the short knockers on certain courses will play well. But if you're out there trying to make a living, you got to have speed. And at the college level, you're trying to win national championships. You got to have speed, and then you have to have the rest of the talent to go with it.
Yeah, you got to control that speed. I mean, we see, the data that we're now starting to collect. We're seeing the college player hitting at almost on average 325 on average. Division I college golfers right now, which is about 18 yards longer than the average on the PGA Tour. In the women game as well, it's about 17 yards difference. It's kind of amazing, how what athletes are doing these days in golf.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think they're talking about gearing the ball back, right? I mean, I wonder how is that going to impact everything?
Yeah. Hey, coach, just keep getting your guys going through PDI, learning how to control the golf ball. That's the number one thing, right? Controlling it. If you can get speed, then you control it, then you can get the ball in the hole least amount of strokes.
Oh, I love PDI.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing for us. My guys got a lot out of PDI. It told them a lot about themselves, and we will continue to do it, particularly as we kind of get into when they come back in, like right after, in the fall. That'll be a good time to assess our players, to see where they are physically, and kind of see where we need to go kind of as we now from the fall to the spring. So we will continue to use those things to help our guys continue to get better.
Last thing, Coach, on that front, obviously when the guys are under you, things are very regimented and obviously structured is a huge part of how you coach and teach. When they do go home for summer, what is your expectation for your players when they're not under your watchful eye?
That they play during the summer. I think you got to at least play a few events during the summer. I mean, I think that the body needs rest as well. I don't want my guys to be out there overdoing it. Play in a few events, but then, also work on your weaknesses. So, by us using having our analytic platform that we can use, they can go back, work on the weaknesses that they hopefully, though, when they come back, those are strengths. But I like for my guys to at least play in a few events throughout the summer. Several, a lot of them, I ain't gonna say all, several of them kind of have internships during the summer months. So I want them to make sure that they, I want their resumes to be solid at the end of their 4 years, right?
Definitely.
And if you have an opportunity to play, and you have the opportunity to play professionally, that at least you got that backup playing behind you. So yeah, just play at some events throughout the summer, and not be rusty when you come to be a total restart when you get back.
For sure.
Hey, Coach, one thing, will those players play some or try to qualify for some of the APGA events? Is that something that you recommend for them to do?
I have
Yeah.
recommended that. And several of them probably will do that. But that sounds like so. I do. So basically, what I do is kind of we have a boardroom. We have a weekly boardroom meeting, right? So I call it a board. It's a team meeting, but I call it a boardroom meeting.
Mm.
Uh, so, uh, so I force them to come into my meeting. If you don't show up with a pen and paper, there's accountability drill attached to it. I'll see you on the football field. Um, so, so I want them to write these things down. So these things that you're talking about, they need to be written down so they have some reference point to go back to. Right. So at the end of this season, once we get to, school starts to conclude, I'll have I call it an evaluation meeting. In the military, in the Marine Corps, we would call it a fitness report. So it's just like your performance. It's like your evaluation that you get from your bosses, right? You sit down and, well, you need to do this. You need to improve here. Um, here's your strengths. Here's your weaknesses. So I do all of that, and then we talk about what you just mentioned. We kind of try to lay out what will your summer look like. Are you going to compete? Here's your weaknesses. I need you to work on that. And so when they go home, they'll work on that. If they go home and they don't work on it and they come back, then that's going to be, again, accountability drills because you got some things you're starting over. So you just went home to have a good time. So obviously you won't be in the top five because the people that work, they're going to be the people that's going to shine. Right.
That's
So
right.
that's not the coach's fault. That's the person. That's the person's fault that did put in the work. So.
Yeah. Well, Coach, that's good to hear because that's accountability, right? At the end of the day, you're recruiting the best players you can recruit. They're going to come in ready to play. They're getting an opportunity. If those other guys are just kind of, I'll take the summer off and just kind of keep it cool, probably going to lose some ground. So
they'll lose some
good
ground.
stuff, and best of luck for the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate this opportunity. You all wanting to have a conversation, Ryan. And I've seen you before. I've watched and listened to you. So it's an honor and a pleasure to get the opportunity to face and have a conversation with you. So continue with the great work that you're doing out there as well. Again, I appreciate everyone today, and thank you very much.
You got it, Coach. It's been a pleasure. Really great conversation. As you said, best of luck the rest of the way here. We'll be in touch real soon.
All right. Thanks. Take care.
Thanks, all right. See you, Coach.
All right. Bye now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was a great conversation, Roger. A little bit different than the ones we've had, but an eye opener and a lot of respect, and certainly, boy, that's someone that I'd want to send my son to play for. I mean, that is preparing someone for not only a career in golf, but a career in life.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach Smoot, he's been doing some amazing things down there. You see the young men, you go and you spend some time with them. You see the discipline, you see the accountability. You not only see it, you can hear it. You watch them go out, and many of them will talk about how they have to do so much on their own. And again, as we know, the greatness happens when no one else is watching.
Right.
So, and I think he's has a great process there and what he's doing for the school there at Miles College. So, I know it's going to be, continue to be a successful program and build successful young men.
And, that leads me to the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. And, he brought up, and obviously PDI is a huge part of what they're doing at Miles, but let's be honest. If you're listening or watching this podcast, there's a very high chance that your son or daughter is a very good player, junior player that has aspirations of going to the next level. I'm sure the routine they have, Roger, it's gotten them to this point, but if you're not assessing where the weak points are, the greater the stakes, the higher the pressure, the chances of a breakdown happening are more likely to happen. PDI, Performance Development Index. It tells you, it gives you all that information right in front of you of where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, what you need to work on to become better. I go back to the first time Rose Zhang, the great Rose Zhang did PDI. She fell in love with it because right in front of her, it showed her that even Rose Zhang, the greatest college female player ever, has weaknesses, has things that she can improve on. And I think sometimes identifying those weaknesses as opposed to just sticking with your routine. My routine is I go to my range, I putt for 20 minutes, I then go hit balls, I then go play. And while it's a great routine, and obviously it's working, that's why your son or daughter has become a really good junior player, that routine isn't necessarily taking pieces out, identifying what the real problem is, or listen, there are this is a great one, there's holes that they're dogleg lefts, right? I mean, every golf course has one, or just about everyone. There are players that will say, I only hit cuts, off the tee I can only hit a cut, I don't want to see the ball go left. So they come to this golf course, they're playing competition, it requires a right to left shot. They don't have it. They don't, they don't work on it. They don't have it. They just they hit cuts. So what do? Well, it's like what you see at the players on 18. They hit a cut, it goes under a tree, and then it's basically luck. Do you have a shot, or are you pitching out? And PDI at the very minimum, in a low risk. What I love about it is it's low risk. Like, okay, it's asking me to hit a draw right now. I don't hit a draw, but this is low risk. This is a test. This is a performance development index. I'm not going to lose anything if I try to hit a draw and can't.
Yeah.
But it's going to identify, and I think Coach Smoot and what they're doing at Miles is they're going to see big improvement, because PDI is going to give them direct feedback and information. Listen, we all know what we do well, but identifying what we can work on, I think that's the key to success, not only in golf, but life. Find out what your weaknesses are.
Right. I mean, you got to look in the mirror every once in a while and say, you know what? Am I doing all the things I can do to be my best version of myself? Right. And, he mentioned that. And I think that's, to your point with Rose, I mean, she realized that she had one great shot from the tee, or she hits it straight. She hits it medium height. She didn't hit it high. She didn't really hit cuts and didn't really hit draws. And she knew that for her success on the LPGA Tour, which was her goal, or be the best player in the world, is actually more of her goal. She needed to do those things, right? I mean, she had to look in the mirror and go, okay, if I want to be the best, I have to do this. And I think that's what's so undervalued, in a sense. I don't want to bash any instructors, because they're all doing good stuff, right? But the reality is that they'll just go, hey, have a shot that you can play, and you'll be good at it, but you'll never be the best in the world, right? Tiger can hit every shot under any condition, right? Rory McIlroy tries to hit every shot under any conditions that's required, right? That's what the best do. Scotty Scheffler, he hits a cut, but guess what? He had to hit some draws, and he wanted to hit those draws. And that's what he's doing the best now. I mean, he talked about that in one of his interviews, I believe, right after he shot 8 under on Sunday, and was basically saying, I was just slapping it around, but had to use my hands. I knew I had to hit these shots coming down the stretch, and I just trusted that I had the skills to do it, basically. Right? Now, I'm paraphrasing. That's not the words he used, but that's basically what he was saying.
And I think, especially if you're in the northern climates, coming out of winter into spring, it's a really, really good spot for your son or daughter to start with PDI now in the spring. First thing you do is you go get assessed. You see what you're doing well, what you have, what you don't have, and then see where you are in September, October, after a summer of identifying some of these weaknesses. And it's pretty easy. JuniorGolfHub.com, PDI. It certainly is a great place to start, get a baseline, and then I mean, like I said, the definition of insanity is to just keep doing the same routine with the same results. Identify your weakness, get that feedback. PDI will apply it. So certainly we want to thank Coach Smoot, Roger. Great conversation today. What a class act and a wonderful human being and doing great things at Miles College.
No doubt about it. He's good stuff, really good stuff.
So we'll continue to see you here on the Junior Golf Hub, continue to bring you the best interviews, best coaches from both the men's and women's game, Division 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't matter. We leave no stone unturned. For Roger Nick, for our producer and director, Michael Nick, I am Ryan Burr once again saying until next time, this is the Hub of Junior Golf Podcast.